What's going on, guys? My name's Chris. You're watching Raising the Bar, and today I'm very excited for this one because it's something that's really helped me stick to my diet and stick to the meal plans that I've put forth for myself, and I hope you can get a lot out of this. Now, I want you to go into this with an open mind because a lot of times people look at this as a very abstract, kind of a bizarre way to go about consuming food. But before we get into it, I want to tell you why I choose to go about consuming my food this way. So years and years ago, when I wanted to put on size and put on weight, I found it extremely difficult to get all of the food in. And when you're trying to put on weight or whether you're trying to lose weight, you need to ensure that your protein levels are adequate and optimal for you and your meal plan. So typically a gram per pound or a gram and a half per pound, depending on where you are in your fitness journey, is not uncommon at all. And for those of you out there that are wondering, why don't you just consume protein powders? Well, very simple. I tried that when I was younger. Not only did I try it, I did it for a long time. And the reality is it doesn't work. At the end of the day, nothing is gonna beat whole food sources. So when I was younger, I used to sit down, I'm eating 6-7 times a day, I'm not hungry at all, and I've got my glass of water next to me and I'm shoveling food in, doing everything that I could to get that food down. And it became so difficult and monotonous sitting there daily trying to put on size. I mean, I was about 140 pounds when I started this whole journey. So it was very difficult for me. And now fast forward, as time has gone on, I still want to continue this fitness journey, but it's so difficult to eat 3-4 meals during a shift at work. Sometimes it's just not feasible to do that. And I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate that are trying to put on size or maybe lose weight, and you want to eat X amount of times per day, and you find it extremely difficult with your occupation to try to get that food in. Well, here's the solution. This is something that I've been doing for about 1.5 years now, and I'm not even kidding when I say that it has changed my life in terms of the way that I eat. I can now eat an entire meal in 30 seconds and keep my day moving. I don't have to sit down and eat for 15-20 minutes every 2.5-3 hours. So the eating portion of my meal plan and my fitness journey is a minuscule portion now. It's quick, it's easy, and most of all, it's absolutely the most efficient way to go about doing it. I challenge anybody out there to combat me on this. This is by far the easiest way to get your food in. Now, having said all that, what we're talking about today is a chicken shake. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know. You're like, Chris, you've lost your mind. That is disgusting. Well, stick with me, because it's not nearly as gross as you think. Now, if for anybody out there that's ever had chicken soup, well, it's the same taste. It tastes the exact same. You can flavor it. You can put buffalo seasoning in there. You could put barbecue sauce. You can do whatever you want to make it taste any way that you wish. But for me, I really don't care at this point, so I just go with regular chicken. Now, when you're making these shakes, there's a couple guidelines that you really want to follow. So what we're going to cover today is how to go about making a chicken shake, what you can put into it and what you cannot put into it. So moving forward, you have a good idea as to how to craft your own meal plan, so that way eating and getting your nutrition in isn't a huge part of your day. So without further ado, let's dive into the ingredients. All right, so first things first, you're going to need yourself a bowl as well as a scale. You want to make sure that you're eating the amount of protein that you're supposed to be eating in your given meal. Next thing that you're going to need to do is to get your chicken. So as you can see, I have cubed up grilled chicken. There is actually no seasoning on here. The color that you see just came from the grill. All of these are cubed and frozen. The reason that I go about freezing is because it doesn't go bad. It lasts for an extremely long time, and it'll make your meal planning so much easier. I'm going to do a whole video on this so you get a good idea as to what this looks like. Now, we have our chicken, we have our bowl. Next step, what we're going to do is we're going to weigh out our chicken. So all we're going to do is simply put our chicken in here, and we've got 3.7 ounces. I right now am doing 7-ounce portions. So we put our chicken in. We're at 5.3 right now, 6.1, and let's see if we can make this happen. There we go. We've got 6.9. Let's see if we can get 7. There we go. 7 ounces even. So now that we've got our chicken all weighed out, mind you, this is frozen, and I prefer to drink it as cold as possible because it's just easier to get down that way. So now that we've got our chicken in the bowl, now what we need to do is transfer it from the bowl into our mixing cup for our blender. You can weigh it directly in the mixing cup for the blender. The reason I'm doing the bowl is just for the video. Traditionally, I will use just the blender cup. So let's switch it over. Now, when you're making these, it works best if you have a bottom firing blade on your blender. I'm a huge fan of the NutriBullet, the Ninjas, anything that has that screw top style attachment with the blades, so that way the food is constantly being fed back into the blades. If you were to use the square attachment for the Ninja blender, it does not work as well because it doesn't have that cyclonic action where it constantly cycles the food back in. So you want to use a cup very similar to this. So very simple. All we're going to do now is put our chicken that we weighed out into our cup, put it in just like that. Now that we've got that taken care of, we need to create a buffer between the blades and the chicken. Because I'm using frozen chicken here, it can be very difficult for the blender to actually get going because the chicken itself can jam the blender. So how do we combat that? Very simple. We add a vegetable on top. You could do green beans, you could do spinach, you could do pretty much any vegetable that you like. Today am going to be doing green beans to create that buffer. So what I have here is a bowl of frozen green beans. What I'm going to do is add enough green beans to the top of the chicken so that way we can cover the chicken and give enough of a buffer for the blades to start revving up and spinning. We're going to take our green beans, we're going to place them right on top of the chicken. Don't drop on there. Just like that. All right, perfect. So now we have our chicken and then green beans on top. Next step is to add our water. So as far as how much water to go and add in, I'm gonna add it enough to cover the entire chicken and green bean mix. So as you can see, we have a little bit of a gap here. The water stops here. That'll give us enough room for everything to circulate. I don't recommend you fill it all the way to the top, but you do want adequate water in there to ensure that you're gonna get a nice emulsion and it's not gonna be thick. And that's the other thing about this, guys. When you're making these, it's not something that's gonna be super thick. It's very easy to drink. It's extremely loose. That's another common misconception with this, is a lot of people will think that it's a very thick mixture. That is not the case. It's very loose, very easy to drink. So now we have our mixture all set, taken care of. Now, all we have to do is put our lid on, give it a screw, make sure it's nice and tight there. Don't shake it, by the way. Remember, those green beans are acting as a buffer between the chicken and the blades. Very important there. That's not to say that you can't just put the chicken in there. You certainly can, but more than likely, your blender will jam. You'll have to take it off, shake it, repeat. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. So I figure if you add in the vegetables, it creates that buffer, makes it blend the first time. Now, as you can see, we have the blender attachment on the actual blender itself. And what we're gonna do is blend this on high for a total of 3 minutes. And the reason we're doing 3 minutes is because we want this to be as blended and as smooth as possible. We want it to be like water by the time we're done blending. So let's kick it on. All right, chicken shake is done. So now that we've got that all taken care of, now what we're gonna do is just pour that into a glass. You can drink that directly out of the pitcher if you'd like, but just for the sake of the video, what we're gonna do is pour it straight into the glass because I want you to see the consistency. And as you can see, extremely simple. Just like that. Got a little stash going there. But hopefully you guys get the point. Extremely simple. You can down it in virtually no time. So if you're sitting there and you're struggling to get your protein in, you want to still eat clean, you want to eat whole food sources, this is your ticket right here. If you want to season it, feel free to season it to your heart's content. Now, if you want to turn this into a complete meal, you have a few different options there. If you want to add a carbohydrate or a direct fat source. For fat sources, I typically use macadamia nut oil. You could add 14 grams or 1 tablespoon to get healthy fats in. And as far as carbohydrates go, if you'd like to add in carbohydrates, the best carbohydrate for immediate consumption, not if you're gonna bring it with you, by the way, is oats. So if you're gonna blend it and you wanna drink it and you wanna say, let's get, say 50 grams of carbohydrates, you could throw 80 grams of oats directly into the shake. It blends tremendously. However, if you do that, you don't wanna let it sit because it will gelatinize as the oats will absorb some of the liquid in there. It'll be a little difficult to drink, and then it kind of gets disgusting. As far as rice goes, rice is okay. It never perfectly blends. So if you do put rice in, you're gonna wanna blend it for at least 4 or 5 minutes, as opposed to the 3 minutes for just the chicken. That'll ensure that you get even dispersion of the rice granules, and it won't be chunky, it won't be clumpy, it'll be nice and smooth. But still, it's not gonna be 100% smooth, so just keep that in mind. Usually what I'll do is I will consume the carbohydrate sources as well as the fat sources on their own, and then I will drink the protein. Now, if you do decide to consume your food like this, something very important that I want to bring to your attention in terms of absorption as well as elimination. There's obviously no fiber in here, so the way that your body's going to process this is going to be a little bit different. So if you do decide to blend your food like this, what I would strongly recommend you do is consume a psyllium husk fiber supplement. In my supplement pick video, I talked about this, but this is very important if you're gonna consume your food like this, because you wanna slow the absorption rate and you wanna ensure proper elimination on the other side. Thank you for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. You know, there's not a lot of people that talk about this. I'm not too sure why nobody else is talking about this as a little bit of a diet hack, but like I said, it changed my life. When I've looked online to try to find people that have done this, I've only found Zac Efron, who did it during his preps, and there was this female bodybuilder that used to do this as well. And when I watched it, I initially thought that it would be disgusting, but then once you try it, you're like, wait a minute, this is so much better than sitting there trying to eat 7 ounces of chicken 4 times a day, or whatever protein source you happen to be consuming. It's just so much faster, so much easier, and especially if you're working a job, you really can't beat the efficiency and the speed at which you can consume a meal if you decide to go in this direction. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe down below. And with that, I am out of here.